Who would have guessed this would be the moment Sharon Stone finally let everything spill? After years of keeping things tightly under wraps, she's just dropped a truth bomb that's got everyone doing double takes. No filter, no spinge. Raw, unvarnished honesty. This isn't your typical Hollywood tell-all, it's personal, it's fearless. And it's leaving fans and critics stunned. The kind of revelation that makes you stop and say, wait, she said what? You'll want the full story because once you hear what she's revealed, you'll never look at her the same way again. Before the red carpets and paparazzi flashes, Sharon Stone was just a girl growing up in Meadville, Pennsylvania town. So quiet, you could hear your thoughts echo. She wasn't the obvious candidate for Hollywood stardom. One of 4 kids in a working-class family, her mom, Dorothy, balanced bookkeeping with raising the household, while her dad, Joe, shaped steel as a tool and die maker. But Sharon, she stood out early. While other toddlers were mumbling first words, she was speaking in full sentences. While kids were learning to walk, she moved like she'd skipped a few steps in development. At school, it became clear her mind worked differently. She devoured books, gravitated toward adult conversations, and struggled with the games and gossip of the playground. Her IQ, staggering 154, but genius isn't always a gift test, especially when you're a child. Other kids didn't know what to make of her. She never quite fit in. She wasn't the popular girl. She was the one others watched from a distance, unsure of how to connect. That kind of loneliness leaves a mark. Not always visible, but lasting. And while her intellect could have moved mountains, life at home wasn't always a safe haven behind. The brilliance was a girl carrying more than most people knew. There were hard days, quiet struggles, moments Sharon Stone never spoke of till now. She didn't grow up with red carpets or couture gowns. Her story began in a cramped home in a working-class neighborhood, where money was scarce and every dollar stretched thin, with 4 kids. Under one roof there were no luxuries, just enough to get by. Her father labored long hours in a factory, while her mother did everything she could to keep the family afloat. Sharon saw it all, the fatigue in their eyes, the stress etched into their bodies, the silence that hung between them. And somewhere in that silence, she made herself a promise. I will make it alone. But money wasn't the deepest wound she carried. Behind closed doors, something far darker unfolded, something she wouldn't fully understand until much later. As a little girl, Sharon was abused by her maternal grandfather, a man who should have protected her, but instead became her worst nightmare. The trauma was too great for a young mind to hold. So like many who survived the unthinkable, her brain did what it had to. It buried it, locked it away, deep in the subconscious. Until years later, in therapy, it began to surface. She wrote about it for the first time in her memoir, The Beauty of Living Twice. Telling the truth felt like reopening a wound that had been stitched too tightly for too long. She didn't just share the abuse, she exposed the fear, the death threats, the suffocating silence. Even though she shared a bedroom with her sister Kelly, Sharon had never felt more alone. The pain was invisible, but constant unspoken weight she carried for years. And then came the funeral. Their grandmother, in a gesture that still stuns. Readers locked Sharon and Kelly alone in a room with their grandfather's lifeless body. No words, no warning. Just the man who had stolen so much from them, lying in silence. It was haunting. But strangely, it was also a turning point, the quiet end of a chapter that had controlled her from the shadows. Still, life didn't get easier overnight. Her father, Joseph, was a man shaped by hardship, and not always in healthy ways. He ruled their home with control, anger, and fear. His punishments weren't disciplined. They were something harsher. Sharon didn't feel safe at home, at school, or even in her own skin. Until one day, everything changed. She was 14 when something inside her snapped. For the first time, she stood up to him, looked him in the eye and said, "What's the matter? Do you need to hit me again to feel like a man?" The words landed like a thunderclap. He broke, cried, and she finally let it out, the truth she'd been carrying in silence for years. She told him she didn't love him, that she never had, and that moment cracked something open, never raised his hand to them again. The pain didn't vanish, but something had shifted. A sliver of light broke through. For Sharon, school became her only refuge. It's the one place where she could breathe, just a little. Books made sense. Equations, stories, facts. They didn't yell, they didn't hurt, and they never lied. But even in the classroom, Sharon didn't quite belong. Other kids teased her for being too smart, for using big words, for thinking differently. No ito, they said. Weird. She wasn't trying to be better than anyone, she was just trying to fit in. But deep down, maybe she was never meant to. She wasn't destined to stay inside anyone's box. She was meant to rise far beyond them. It's easy to believe some people are born to be stars. That wasn't Sharon, not by a long shot. Growing up, she didn't see herself as beautiful, far from it. She called herself awkward, nerdy, invisible. While other girls flirted in the hallways and shopped for prom dresses, Sharon kept her head buried in books, dreaming of escaping her small town and chasing something bigger. By the time she was just 15, she'd already graduated high school, full and upon graduated. She landed a college scholarship and started early, impressive on paper, sure. But being the youngest in every room only made her feel even more like an outsider. Everyone around her seemed older, cooler, more confident. Sharon still felt like the quiet girl in the back, hoping no one would notice how lost she really was. She called herself the nerdy, ugly duckling. And the worst part, she believed it. Then came the accident. At 14, while trying to break in a horse, something went terribly wrong. The horse panicked, and Sharon was thrown hard. The impact seriously injured her neck. Wasn't just painful, it was life-altering. The kind of injury that changes how you move, how you sleep, how you see yourself. It deepened her isolation. Some days the world felt unbearably heavy, and she didn't know how to hold it all. So there she was, brilliant, driven, quietly broken. A girl with big dreams, stuck in a small town, and no clear way out. Until something completely unexpected happened. Someone dared her to enter a local beauty pageant. Sounds like a total 180, right? But she did it hesitantly, awkwardly, and, to everyone's shock, including her own, she won. That moment cracked something open. For the first time, she felt seen, not just for her brain, but for her presence. Maybe, just maybe, there was something about her worth noticing. And almost overnight, the world began to notice. Modeling. Agencies came calling, and just like that, she was packing a suitcase and heading to New York City with nothing but ambition, grit, and a dream. New York didn't exactly roll out the red carpet. She faced rejection after rejection. But quitting wasn't in her vocabulary. Instead, Sharon pushed harder. She trained, studied, practiced in front of mirrors and cameras until she mastered every angle. Eventually, her persistence paid off. Ford modeling agencies signed her, and suddenly, her face was everywhere. Magazines, billboards, commercials. She'd made it. Or so it seemed. But here's the thing. Modeling was exciting, sure. It gave her visibility. But it didn't give her purpose. Sharon didn't just want to be signed, she wanted to be heard. She wanted to feel something, to say something. Striking poses wasn't enough. She wanted to tell stories. So she pivoted. She dove into acting from the bottom up, auditions, rejection, acting classes, tiny roles. Her first part, a background extra. No lines, just a blurry face in the distance. But she didn't care. She was learning, absorbing everything. She knew greatness didn't come easy. And then it happened. In 1992, she landed the role that would change her life forever. Catherine Trammell in Basic Instinct. That character was fierce, unapologetic, magnetic, and Sharon owned it. She didn't just play the role, she became it. Suddenly, the whole world was talking about her. Just like that, the quiet, bookish girl from Meadville became a full-blown Hollywood sensation. Her face lit up movie posters, splashed across magazine covers, graced red carpets. She had made it from invisible to iconic. She had worked her butt off, and finally, the world saw what she'd always known deep down. She was meant for something. bigger. But just because your career takes off doesn't mean everything else falls into place. And for Sharon, love was a journey all its own. Her first marriage came in 1984. She met Michael Greenberg on a film set. He was a TV producer. And it was one of those classic work turns into love stories. Things moved fast. For a while it worked. But as Sharon's career began to skyrocket, keeping up with each other became harder. Different schedules, growing apart, life pulling them in separate directions. By 1987, was over. That was her first real lesson. Love and ambition don't always play well together. Still, she didn't give up. She kept putting her heart out there. In the early 90s, she dated country star Dwight Yoakam. It was brief, but it made headlines. He had that rough-edged cowboy charm and people were into it, and came William J. McDonald, a film producer. She got serious with. They were even engaged. For a moment it looked like it might really last. But chemistry isn't always enough. They called it off in 1994. And just like that, another chapter closed. Then came something different. In 1998, she met Phil Bronstein, a journalist, not from Hollywood, not chasing the spotlight.com. Thoughtful, grounded, it felt like Sharon had finally found someone solid. They got married. 2 years in, they adopted a baby boy, Roan. For a while, everything seemed to align: love, family, a quieter kind of happiness. But behind the scenes, the picture wasn't as perfect as it looked. Her career remained demanding, marriage had its cracks. And while they both tried to make a real life together, real life is messy even for people who live in mansions and walk red carpets. Still, what made Sharon different? What made her relatable was that she tried. She believed in love even. When it hurt, she kept showing up, hoping this time would be different. Giving her all, even when her heart was on the line. But like so many relationships, it slowly unraveled. Sharon and Phil gave it everything they could. By 2004, it was over. And if divorce wasn't hard enough, what followed was even more painful. A brutal custody battle over their son. Roan, this wasn't tabloid drama, it was her real life, unfolding under a spotlight, and it broke her. But here's the thing about Sharon. She kept going. She never backed down when it came to being a mom. Her love for Roan became her anchor, the kind of love that gives you strength you didn't know you had. And when the dust finally settled, Sharon didn't shut herself off from love, not even close. She kept her heart open, still believing in something real. She dated actor David DeLuise for 2 years. Then in 2018, she was seen with Italian real estate mogul Angelo Baffa. The chemistry was undeniable. For a moment, it looked like she was finally getting her happy ending. But as life often reminds us, love isn't always simple. Even when two people care deeply, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And yes, those breakups hurt, but Sharon, she kept going. What makes her so human, so relatable, is that she's loved and lost big. And yet, she never let heartbreak harden her. She didn't become bitter. Instead, she turned pain into wisdom. She learned how to stand taller, how to love herself better. And after everything, she still believes in love. That kind of hope takes courage. Just as life seemed to be calming down, she was healing, parenting, staying hopeful. Everything changed. In 2001, Sharon suffered a stroke. Not a minor one, a massive brain hemorrhage that lasted 9 days. Doctors gave her a 1% chance of survival. 1%. One day, she was on top of the world. Movie sets, red carpets, magazine covers. The next, she couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't recognize parts of her own face in the mirror. She lost feeling in her leg. Her vision blurred. Her speech was slurred. She had to relearn everything: how to walk, how to speak, how to write her own name. It was like starting over. And when she needed Hollywood to stand by her, it didn't. The phone stopped ringing. The offers disappeared. Industry moved on without her. As if that wasn't enough. She found herself in another brutal custody battle, this time, while still trying to recover, physically and emotionally. But Sharon Stone doesn't fold. She fought like hell, quietly, slowly, painfully, to rebuild her life. Inch by inch, she came back. Because her story isn't just about fame or red carpets. It's about survival. About grit. About choosing to keep going, even when the world turns its back. The kind of pain she endured, the kind that leaves invisible bruises, something many people face, but few talk about. Sharon did. And in doing so, she showed the world that even when life knocks you flat, you can get back up, and maybe not the same, maybe not easily, but stronger, wiser, and filled with more compassion than before. That's what makes her story not just inspiring, it makes it profoundly human. So how did she do it? How did Sharon Stone take her greatest challenges and turn them into something that would touch lives around the world? Let's rewind. Long before her stroke, Sharon was already showing signs of her relentless, big-hearted drive to make a difference. In 1991, when her sister Kelly suffered a serious leg injury, the two of them co-founded Planet Hope, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping homeless families. It wasn't just about charity. It was about dignity, second chances, and giving people the tools to rebuild. And she didn't stop there. Sharon became a fierce advocate in the fight against HIV and AIDS, not just attending events, but raising real money, pushing for research, and speaking out when few others would. In 2005, Harvard University honored her with a humanitarian award, recognizing her deep commitment to global health and justice. That same year, she stood beside Nobel Peace Prize laureate Shimon Peres in Israel, a man she considered a mentor. She wasn't just talking about peace, she was living it. Then came Milan in 2015. Sharon was being honored with the Pelosio Building Peace Award, but instead of giving a standard acceptance speech, she did something unforgettable. Right there on the spot, with no script, no warning, she started an impromptu auction. By the end of the night, she had raised enough money to build 28 schools in Africa. That's Sharon. No pretense, just purpose. Her work didn't stop there. She's raised her voice for LGBTQ+ rights, volunteered in disaster relief efforts, and stood up for causes ranging from animal welfare to access to education. The more life threw at her, the louder she spoke up for the overlooked, the underserved, the forgotten, because her story isn't just about surviving trauma. It's about turning survival into mission. She's a reminder that even after your world falls apart, you can still build something beautiful from the pieces. In 2013, Sharon received the Peace Summit Award, a recognition given not for box office numbers or red carpet appearances, but for something deeper: the lives she's touched, the causes she's championed, and the impact she's made far beyond the screen. From advocating for HIV/AIDS awareness to building brighter futures for children around the world, Sharon Stone has become something more than a movie star. She's a force for good. But while she poured her soul into healing the world, one quiet question lingered in the background. Had love ever shown up for her the way she showed up for everyone else? Sharon Stone has never been one to hide behind a polished image or carefully crafted facade, not on screen, and certainly not in her personal life. She's refreshingly unfiltered, even when it comes to the awkward, often ridiculous world of modern dating. Yes, even she tried online dating. You'd think being a world-famous actress might make things easier. Spoiler, it didn't. In a candid 2024 interview with The Times, Sharon opened up about dipping her toes into the chaotic waters of app-driven romance. And like so many of us, she found it frustrating, surreal, and more than a little absurd. One story stood out. She matched with a man whose profile pictures were, let's just say, creative. When they met in person, he looked nothing like his photos, not a little different, entirely unrecognizable. She laughed when she told the story, but the deeper message was clear. Even for Sharon Stone, love doesn't come easy. Still, she doesn't play games. I go on as myself, she said. It's not like I can fake it. That one simple line sums her up perfectly. She's lived too much, lost too much, and learned too much to pretend. She knows the cost of inauthenticity and she refuses to pay it. And then came the moment. That could only happen to someone like Sharon Stone. She got banned from Bumble. Yes, really. In 2019, dating app flagged her profile as fake. because users couldn't believe the real Sharon Stone would be on there. It's funny in hindsight, almost poetic. A woman who spent her life fighting to be seen for who she really is kicked off. A dating app for being too real, but even that didn't rattle her. She hasn't let the weirdness of modern love, the disappointments of the past harden her. Sharon remains open, grounded, hopeful. Like everything she's faced, whether it was rebuilding her life after a stroke, fighting for her child, or championing causes around the globe as she approaches. Love with grace, grit, and that signature raw honesty. Because for Sharon, whether it's acting, activism, or affection, it has always been about one thing: showing up as her full, unfiltered self. And maybe, just maybe, that's her most powerful love story of all. And then things took a weird, very Sharon Stone kind of turn. She finally gave online dating a shot, downloaded Bumble, made a profile, showed up as herself. What happened next? She got banned. Yep, Bumble shut down her account. Why? Because users kept reporting it as fake. Can you blame them? Most people just couldn't believe Sharon Stone would be swiping like the rest of us. But instead of getting angry or embarrassed, Sharon did what she always does. She owned it. She tweeted, "I went on a Bumble and they closed my account. Some users reported it couldn't possibly be me. Hey, at Bumble, is being me exclusionary?" It was sharp, funny, unapologetically hurt, and it went viral. Bumble quickly apologized and reinstated her profile. But the whole thing highlighted something real. Even for a household name, love isn't easy. And the modern dating world, it's just as tricky, if not more so. Sharon has never been into hookup culture. She's not looking for something superficial, and she's been blunt about that at one point. She admitted, "I didn't want to just go on Tinder and F somebody. It's not hard, let's be honest, that hits home for a lot of people. Finding something real these days can feel nearly impossible." After years of giving it a fair shot, Sharon finally reached a turning point. In a 2020 interview on the Drew Barrymore show, she said, "I'm done dating. I've had it with dating. I find people to be insincere and not worth my time." That wasn't bitterness. That was a woman drawing a line, setting boundaries, knowing her worth. So now, instead of chasing romance, Sharon pours her energy into what truly matters: raising her kids, staying close to her friends, and doing the things that bring her real joy. And honestly, that might be the most empowering move of all.